The first lie came so easily, I barely registered it as a lie. We were on our second date, sitting at this trendy rooftop bar in Austin, and Ryan was telling me about his last relationship, how it ended, what he'd learned, the usual getting to know you stuff. Then he asked about my exes. Oh, I said with the casual laugh I'd practice in the mirror. The usual college boyfriend drama. Dated a musician for a while, that was a disaster. Had a thing with a guy from work that got messy. Nothing serious until now. He smiled, relieved that I had relationship experience, that I wasn't some naive girl who'd make things complicated. And just like that, I became someone else. My name is Maya, and I spent 3 years pretending to be a person I wasn't. By the time I confessed on my wedding night, the lies had gotten so elaborate I could barely remember what was real anymore. But let me back up. You need to understand where this started. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the youngest of 4 daughters in a deeply religious household. My father was a deacon at our church. My mother taught Sunday school. Sex before marriage wasn't just discouraged, it was treated like a moral failing that would damn your soul. My oldest sister got pregnant at 17. The shame nearly destroyed our family. She was sent away to live with our aunt, the baby was given up for adoption, and we never spoke about it again. But the message was clear. Sexual desire was dangerous, and good girls controlled themselves. So I controlled myself. Through high school while my friends were experimenting, through college while everyone around me was hooking up, and I stayed in my room pretending to study. I dated a few guys, got to second base with one in college before I panicked and ended things. But actual sex? I couldn't even imagine it without feeling sick with shame and anxiety. By the time I turned 24, I'd accepted that I'd probably die a virgin. And honestly, I was almost okay with that. Being alone seemed easier than dealing with the shame. Then I met Ryan at that tech conference and everything changed. He was different from anyone I'd ever met. Confident, but not arrogant. Funny, smart, successful. The kind of guy who seemed comfortable in his own skin in a way I'd never been comfortable in mine. We had chemistry immediately. The conversation flowed, the attraction was obvious, and by the end of our first date, I knew I wanted to see him again. That's when the panic set in. Because I knew what would happen eventually. We'd start dating seriously, things would get physical, and I'd have to tell him I was a 24-year-old virgin with crippling sexual anxiety. And then he'd leave. Because why would someone like him want to deal with someone like me? So I made a decision. I'd create a version of myself he could fall in love with. Someone experienced, confident, sexually liberated. I'd fake it until I made it. And by the time we got to the point of actual sex, maybe I'd have worked through my issues enough that it wouldn't matter. Looking back, I can see how insane this plan was, but at the time it made perfect sense. The lies started small. Casual mentions of ex-boyfriends who didn't exist. Vague references to past sexual experiences. I'd researched enough online to sound convincing. Threw around terms I'd learned from articles, referenced situations I'd read about on forums. Ryan believed every word. Why wouldn't he? Who lies about something like that? By our third date, I'd constructed an entire fake sexual history. The college boyfriend who'd broken my heart, the rebound guy who was great in bed but terrible at communication, the musician I'd met while traveling in Europe who'd taught me to be adventurous. All fiction, all designed to make me seem normal. The first time Ryan tried to take things further, about 2 months in, I had a full-blown panic attack in his bathroom. I locked myself in there for 15 minutes, trying to breathe, telling myself I could do this. I just needed to relax. When I came out, I told him I was exhausted from work and suggested we slow down. He was so understanding, it made me want to cry. That's when I developed my secondary strategy, the let's wait until we're married approach. I framed it as romantic, old-fashioned, special. And because I'd already established myself as sexually experienced, it didn't raise any red flags. It just seemed like a preference. Ryan thought it was sweet. He respected my boundaries, never pushed, never questioned why someone with my supposed sexual history would suddenly want to wait. God, he made it so easy to lie to him. The lies compounded. I had to remember every fake detail I'd invented. I kept a secret document on my phone with my fake relationship timeline so I wouldn't contradict myself. Jake, college boyfriend, dated junior year, broke up because he cheated. Lost virginity to him. Never existed. Marcus, rebound guy. Great sex, bad communication, lasted 3 months. Never existed. Diego, musician from Barcelona, summer fling, taught me to be sexually confident. Never existed. I spent that summer working at my dad's accounting firm. I became so good at lying that I started to believe my own stories. When friends asked about my past, I tell these elaborate tales with such detail that even I'd forget they weren't real. But the anxiety never went away. It lived in my chest constantly, this tight knot of fear that Ryan would find out, that someone from my past would contradict my stories, that I'd slip up and reveal the truth. I started therapy a year into our relationship, but I couldn't even be honest with my therapist at first. It took 6 months before I admitted what I'd done. Maya, Dr. Chen said carefully, you need to tell him the truth. I can't, I said. We're too far in now. It would destroy everything. Lying to him is destroying everything, she countered. You're just doing it slowly. But I couldn't. The lies had become so fundamental to our relationship that unraveling them felt impossible. How do you tell someone you've been lying about something so basic for over a year? How do you admit that the person they fell in love with doesn't really exist? So I kept lying, kept perfecting my persona, kept pretending. When Ryan proposed after 2 years together, I said yes immediately, because marriage felt like the finish line. Once we were married, having sex would be legitimate in the twisted framework my religious upbringing had created. The shame would magically disappear and everything would be fine. Except it wasn't fine. As the wedding approached, my anxiety reached new heights. I started having nightmares about our wedding night. In my dreams, I'd freeze up and Ryan would realize I'd been lying, or I'd confess and he'd leave me at the altar, or we'd try to have sex and I'd have a panic attack so severe I'd need to be hospitalized. I increased my therapy sessions to twice a week. Dr. Ten kept pushing me to come clean before the wedding. This is going to come out eventually, she warned, and the longer you wait, the worse it will be. I'll tell him after the wedding, I promised, once we're married and he can't leave as easily. Maya, that's manipulation. I know, but I'm desperate. The wedding day was simultaneously the best and worst day of my life. Everything was perfect. The venue, the flowers, the dress. Ryan looked at me like I hung the moon. Our vows made everyone cry. For a few hours, I let myself believe in the fantasy I'd created. Then we got to the hotel room and reality crashed down. I locked myself in the bathroom and had a complete meltdown. 3 years of lies, anxiety, and shame came pouring out. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't figure out how to move forward. I had two choices: go through with it and hope my body cooperated despite my mental state, or tell the truth and risk losing everything. For 30 minutes, I seriously considered just doing it, letting Ryan believe I was experienced, pretending I knew what I was doing, faking my way through like I'd faked everything else. But I couldn't. The weight of the lies had become too heavy, and the thought of adding lied during our first time together to my list of deceptions made me physically ill. So I confessed, walked out of that bathroom, and destroyed the illusion I'd spent 3 years building. The look on Ryan's face when I told him still haunts me. It wasn't anger, not at first. It was confusion, like his brain couldn't process what I was saying. "I'm a virgin," I said again, because he seemed frozen. "I've never had sex. Everything I told you about my past relationships was a lie." Watching him process this information was torture. I saw the exact moment he started replaying our entire relationship in his head, reframing every conversation, every intimate moment, every story I'd told him. "Why?" he finally asked, and the hurt in his voice broke something in me. I tried to explain the religious shame, the anxiety, the fear of rejection, how I thought creating a persona was easier than being vulnerable, how the lies had snowballed until I couldn't figure out how to stop them. It sounded pathetic even to my own ears. "3 years," he said quietly. "You lied to me for 3 years about something this fundamental." "I know." "What else have you lied about?" That question cut deep because it was fair. If I'd lied about this, what else was I hiding? "I mean, I lied about small things to support the bigger lie: the Barcelona trip, the ex-boyfriends, some stories about college. But everything else, my job, my family, my feelings for you, that's all real." He just stared at me. I could see him trying to figure out if he could trust anything I said. "I love you," I added desperately. "That was never a lie. Everything I feel for you was real." "How do I know that? How do I know anything about you was real if you could lie about something this significant for this long?" I didn't have an answer, because he was right. I destroyed his ability to trust me. We didn't sleep that night, just talked in circles, me trying to explain the unexplainable, Ryan trying to process the unprocessable. Around 3 a.m., I asked the question I was terrified to hear the answer to. "Do you want an annulment?" The pause before he answered felt like years. "No," he finally said. "I don't want an annulment, but I don't know how we come back from this." "We'll figure it out," I said, even though I had no idea how. "You need to understand something," he said. "I don't care that you're a virgin. I care that you lied, that you thought so little of me that you assumed I'd reject the real you." That hit harder than anger would have, because he was right. My lies hadn't just been about protecting myself. They'd been about not trusting him enough to love the real me. The next few months were hell. We went to therapy, both couples and individual. I had to sit in sessions and hear Ryan talk about how betrayed he felt, how he questioned everything about our relationship, how he didn't know if he could ever fully trust me again. Dr. Martinez, our couples therapist, made me walk through every lie I'd told, every fake story, every misdirection, every moment I'd chosen deception over honesty. It was humiliating, but necessary. You didn't just lie to Ryan, she explained. You lied to yourself. You convinced yourself that being a virgin made you broken. And then you created an elaborate fantasy to avoid dealing with that belief. She was right. The lies weren't really about Ryan at all. They were about my own shame and self-hatred. In individual therapy, I started unpacking the religious trauma that had caused all of this. The messages I had internalized about my body, my desires, my worth. The belief that sexual purity was my only value and that losing it outside of marriage would make me worthless, but also that being a virgin past a certain age made me a freak. I'd been an impossible bind, and instead of dealing with it, I'd created a fake person who didn't have to. The intimacy stuff was the hardest part. Ryan wanted to start completely over, which meant no pressure, no expectations, no sex. Just getting to know each other again. The real me this time. It was terrifying because the real me was anxious and inexperienced and deeply damaged around sexuality. Everything I'd been trying to hide. But slowly, painfully, we started building something real. I learned to be honest about my fears instead of hiding them. When I was anxious, I said so. When I didn't know something, I admitted it. When I needed to slow down, I asked. And Ryan, he was patient in a way I didn't deserve. He never made me feel stupid or broken for my inexperience. He just met me where I was. 3 months after our wedding, we finally had sex. It was awkward and clumsy and nothing like I'd imagined. But it was honest. No pretending, no performing, just two people figuring things out together. Afterward, I cried. Not from shame this time, but from relief. I wasted so much time being afraid of this, I told Ryan. You wasted time being afraid of being yourself, he corrected. The sex is just sex. The real loss was all those years you spent pretending to be someone else. It's been 8 months since my confession. 8 months of therapy, honesty, and slowly rebuilding trust. I still have bad days where the shame crashes back and I can't believe I did this to myself and to Ryan. Days where I'm convinced he's going to wake up and realize he made a mistake staying with me. But I also have good days now. Days where I'm actually comfortable in my own skin. Days where I can talk about sex without panicking. Days where I believe I'm worthy of love just as I am. The weirdest part has been telling other people. 6 months post-wedding, I finally got honest with our friends about what had happened. I expected judgment, but instead found solidarity. Sarah had also been a virgin on her wedding night and had also lied about it. Jessica had done the same thing. Even Tom had lied about his sexual experience, just in the opposite direction. We'd all been so afraid of being judged that we'd created fake versions of ourselves, and we'd all suffered for it. That night inspired me to start writing about my experience. I created an anonymous blog about religious sexual shame and recovery. The response has been overwhelming. Hundreds of messages from people who've gone through similar things, who felt broken and alone and ashamed. Turns out I wasn't uniquely damaged. I was just one of millions dealing with the aftermath of toxic purity culture. Writing about it has been therapeutic. Helping others has helped me forgive myself, at least partially. But I still carry guilt about what I did to Ryan. He says he's forgiven me, and I believe him. But I also know I hurt him deeply. I took away his ability to consent to our relationship fully, because he didn't know who he was actually dating. That's the part that keeps me up at night. Not the lying itself, but what the lying represented. A fundamental disrespect for his right to make informed choices about his life. You were protecting yourself, Dr. Chen reminds me in our sessions. It wasn't healthy or right, but it came from a place of trauma, not malice. I know that intellectually, but emotionally, I still struggle with the knowledge that I hurt someone I love because I couldn't face my own shame. Our first anniversary is next month. We're doing a vow renewal, my idea. This time I want to stand in front of everyone we love and speak the truth. Not the polished, perfect version I presented the first time, but the real, messy, honest version. I've been working on my vows for weeks. They're nothing like the Pinterest perfect ones I wrote the first time. They're raw and vulnerable and honest. I promise to never hide from you again, even when the truth is uncomfortable. I promise to trust you with my real self, not the version I think you want to see. I promise to do the work every day to be worthy of the second chance you've given me. Ryan read them yesterday and cried. Good tears, he said. Healing tears. I asked him if he regretted marrying me, knowing what he knows now. Some days, he admitted, some days I wish you'd been honest from the start and we could have built something real from the beginning. But other days, I think maybe we needed to go through this. Maybe you needed to hit rock bottom before you could start healing. I asked him if he trusted me again. He paused, considering. I'm learning to. It's not automatic anymore, but we're getting there. That's fair. Trust, once broken, doesn't just magically repair itself. It requires consistent honesty, vulnerability, and time. Lots of time. The thing nobody tells you about being a recovering liar is that you become hyper-aware of every tiny dishonesty in daily life. The social white lies everyone tells. I'm fine. I loved your gift. Sorry, I'm busy that day. Suddenly feel enormous. I've probably overcorrected. Now I'm almost aggressively honest, to the point where Ryan sometimes has to remind me that not every thought needs to be shared. You can think my cooking is just okay without announcing it, he said last week, laughing. But I'm trying to be honest, I protested. There's honesty and there's being tactless. You're allowed to have a filter, Maya, just not a fake persona. Learning where that line is has been harder than I expected. My relationship with my parents has also changed. After months of therapy, I finally confronted them about the shame-based messaging around sex I'd internalized growing up. My mom cried. My dad got defensive. But eventually they admitted they'd probably been too strict, too focused on purity and control. We were trying to protect you, my mom said. You taught me to hate myself, I replied. There's a difference. We're working on rebuilding that relationship too, but it's complicated. They don't understand why I'm making such a big deal out of something that happened so long ago. They think I should just move on. But that's the thing about trauma. It doesn't just disappear because time passes. It lives in your body, shapes your choices, colors your worldview until you actively work to heal it. I'm doing that work now. Slowly, painfully, but I'm doing it. My sex life with Ryan is actually good now, which still surprises me. Once I stopped performing and started just being present, things got easier. We laugh during sex now, which would have horrified 24-year-old me, but which feels incredibly freeing now. You know what's weird? I told him last week. I spent 3 years pretending to be sexually confident. And now that I'm actually becoming confident, it looks nothing like what I was faking. How so? He asked. I thought confidence meant knowing everything, never being awkward, always in control. But real confidence is being okay with not knowing, asking questions, admitting when something doesn't work, being vulnerable. He smiled. Welcome to actual adulthood. Better late than never, I said. There are still hard moments. Last month, we ran into one of Ryan's ex-girlfriends at a restaurant. She was friendly, and I watched them talk easily about their shared past, and I felt this wave of grief. Not jealousy, exactly, but grief for the authentic shared history I'd robbed us of. Ryan has real memories with his exes, real moments, real feelings, real experiences. What he has with me is 3 years of memories tainted by lies, followed by months of painful truth. What's wrong? He asked as we walked to the car afterward. I'm mourning what we could have had if I'd been honest from the start, I admitted. She got to be real with you. I gave you a performance. Yeah, he said quietly. You did. And I hate that we lost those years. But we're here now. And this, what we're building now, this is real. I'm trying to believe him, trying to focus on the present rather than dwelling on the past I can't change. My blog has grown significantly. I write under a pseudonym, but the stories are all real now. No more fake personas, no more pretending. Just raw, honest accounts of unlearning shame and learning to be authentic. The response has been incredible. People sharing their own stories, thanking me for making them feel less alone. It's giving meaning to my mess, turned my pain into something that might help others avoid the same mistakes. I'm even considering writing a book about it. How I lied my way into marriage and almost lost everything, or something equally dramatic. My therapist thinks it could be cathartic. Ryan thinks I should wait another year or two, get more distance from the experience. He's probably right. I have a tendency to rush things, to try to fix everything immediately. I'm learning to sit with discomfort instead of immediately trying to resolve it. Not everything needs to be solved, Dr. Chin reminds me constantly. Some things just need to be felt. That's hard for me. I want to fix what I broke. I want to guarantee Ryan that I'll never lie again, that I'm completely healed, that our relationship is secure now. But life doesn't work that way. Healing isn't linear. Trust is rebuilt in small moments, not grand gestures. So much show up every day. I tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. I go to therapy. I work on managing my anxiety in healthy ways rather than hiding behind lies. I let Ryan see me when I'm messy and uncertain and scared. And slowly, day by day, we're building something real. Is it what we could have had if I'd been honest from the start? No, it's probably not. We lost something that can never be recovered, but it's also deeper in some ways. We've been through hell together and came out the other side. We know each other in ways most couples never will, because we've had to rebuild from the ground up. Would you do it again? My friend Sarah asked recently. If you could go back, would you tell him the truth from the start? Absolutely, I said without hesitation. But I also don't know if I was capable of that then. The person I was at 24 didn't have the tools to be that vulnerable. I had to break completely before I could start building something real. That's dark, she said. Yeah, I agreed, but it's honest. And honestly,
That's all I can be now. Honest, messily, imperfectly, painfully honest. It's not the fairy tale I imagined on my wedding day, but it's real. And real turns out to be better than perfect, even if it took destroying everything to learn that lesson.